My role model early in life is probably still my role model today, which is my father, who is an engineer by background and had a long and exciting career working overseas. I think when he retired at the age of 67, he had traveled to 128 countries and just had friends and connections globally. I thought, I want a job that's going to take me outside the US and expose me to lots of different people and lots of different cultures. I've never really had a sponsor. I also haven't actually had any official mentors in my career, but I have had a lot of good bosses that I've worked for over the years who have really looked out for me and given me opportunities to do different things and work in different places. And a lot of those bosses that I've worked for, I've stayed in touch with even long after we're no longer working at the same company. So I think that's been very helpful in my career. Went to university to study chemical engineering. I come from a family of engineers. And within 6 months of starting at university, I changed my course of study to European history, which was a very drastic change. And I just studied that because I really loved it and I was passionate about it. But when I finished university, I had no idea what kind of a job I was going to find. I decided I wanted to go into the business world and wasn't sure what I should do. And my college roommate's father worked as an underwriter at Cigna. So he sort of suggested that insurance would be a great career that was a little bit of everything. And I knew I didn't want to do finance. I didn't want to do something that would pigeonhole me. I wanted something where I could just experience a lot of different things and then try and figure out what I wanted to do. So in a way, I kind of fell into the insurance business. First of all, when I hire somebody, I've learned, we have not just the culture of the organization, but we have the culture of working in Switzerland, and we have a specific culture within our team. So I think the first thing I do is when I hire somebody, I want to make sure that they're going to be a good fit for all three of those cultures. And it doesn't mean they have to be just like everybody else, but they have to somehow fit in with the team and maybe bring something to the team that I think we're lacking. So I'm usually upfront about it because that's also key to employees' happiness. So you want to make sure you're clear about the type of working environment you are, what you value, so that people have the right expectations. And then I think we're pretty transparent. So I don't think after that you really have to talk to people about it so much. Then they can see just in their day-to-day work what the organization is like. And I think that's something that you really learn by experience. I've gotten much better at hiring and spotting talent and building teams than I was when I first started managing people in my early 20s. When you're new to leadership, you lead by example. So it's not so much about learning something new. It's about, or not so much telling people what they should be doing. You set an example that people can follow. And then I think the two first management skills that people should learn are around coaching and delegating. Those are sort of the basic management skills that you have to start out with. And I think there's a difference between managing people and coaching people, so making sure people understand the difference. And then delegating, I think, is an absolutely critical skill if you're managing people. And that's a tough one. I see a lot of people who struggle learning to delegate because it's, losing a little bit of control. But I think you cannot be a really successful senior level manager unless you really learn to delegate well and have confidence in your people. Yes, I do. Management for me is, keeping the business running, making sure everything, the business plan is being executed. Leadership is, sort of setting the strategy, setting the vision, and it's not so much managing people, it's just, leading the way and making sure that people are following you. So for me, I meet a lot of good and bad managers in business, but I think really great leaders are much harder to find. And when you do find them, you recognize that that's a really special skill. And those are the kind of people I like to follow, strong leaders. I see that all the time. And I think that's okay. I've learned you can't be great at everything. So I think you have to be great at certain things, but you don't have to be great at everything, but you have to be competent at everything else. So I think where it's a problem, if you're a great leader and a poor manager, that's a problem. But if you're a great leader and you're just a competent manager, I think that's okay, because then you can find other people who are great managers who work for you. And I think, leadership is also about building, especially as you go to more senior levels in an organization, it's about building a strong leadership team below you and recognizing that people have different skills. So the leaders who are coming up below you might have different strengths and different competencies. And you need to have a mix of different leaders to be really effective. I'm a person who likes to talk through issues with other people. So I have a really great network who, in fact, I was just doing that this morning with a colleague who I think is a very good sounding board for me. So I use a lot of sounding boards, and then I'm a huge reader. So I read a lot of stuff on LinkedIn or just newspapers. I'm always interested in, reading about, what are top tips about managing people, or how can you inspire people? Because if you read a lot of different stuff, you might read about 10 ideas and 1 or 2 resonate. It depends on the position that I'm specifically recruiting for. So, and then it also depends on the existing mix of people that I have. So sometimes, as an example, I might have a lot of people within a team who are very technical people, who are a little bit more on the quiet side. So if I'm recruiting someone for that specific team, then I might look for somebody who has more of a driver personality. So I think the best teams have a mix of different personalities and a mix of skill sets. Integrity. I think that's the one thing that's just non-negotiable. And I don't think that's just for leaders. I just think in business, you have to have integrity. But if you want people to follow you, they have to believe in you. And there's just no, it's not something you can learn. It's not something that you can be sort of good at. You absolutely must have it, and everything else will follow. You can learn or get better at different aspects of leadership, but if you don't have integrity, you can't be a leader that anybody will follow.